I was blown away by my boy Brian Ortega, T-City, on Fox Sports against the ever skilled, dangerous, one shot away from a title shot type of guy in Cub Swanson. He's just literally been around forever and compete at the highest level. And I've said this before, Cub is the most talented guy I've ever seen in training. Hands down as far as wrestling, jiu-jitsu, striking, mixing up, being creative, endurance, strength. It's the best I've ever seen. And I've never seen anything like it. He came down to Denver one time at the Grudge Training Center and just murked everyone, put on a show, made it look effortless. I've never seen anything like it. Cub is such a goddamn talent. Brian Ortega being a personal friend, training partner at the Gracie Academy, and if you guys have listened to Big Brown Breakdown when I had him on, he has such an amazing story. It's hard not to root for a guy like this. My knock on Brian has always been his striking at the upper echelon. And when this fight started, and even in the last week's breakdown, I went, I'm picking Brian Ortega because I'm biased as hell. It could be too much too soon for him with Cub Swanson. We don't know. The striking is where Brian's going to struggle at. And you look at Brian's fights, and, don't get me wrong, the guy can box. But, you'll see some kicks. You don't see a lot of angles. He's so damn game. He'll sit in the pocket, trade, stuff like that. But there's not a whole barrage or vast kind of mix of strikes from knees, elbows, kicks, all that stuff. He's thrown some good knees, and he mixed it up in this fight. Some good feints in this fight. You can see the progression of Brian Ortega, where with the Carpenter, Guida,
Clay Guida.
with Clay Guida, the Carpenter, you can see where he was losing that fight and pulled out the end. He seems to always find this inner warrior in him, pulled out the end because his jiu-jitsu is so damn good. And you find out why his jiu-jitsu is so good if you listen to that podcast I did with him and Henner, and his story and how, it kind of basically saved his life, got him off the streets. But in the Cub Swanson fight, Cub early on had the speed advantage, was mixing it up. I was a little worried, but still, Brian Ortega's defense looked good. He's a big ass dude for a featherweight, so he can get away with more. He can also take a shot because he's bigger, but his defense was solid. His body was a little open, and Cub took advantage of that. But as Cub started to get more and more comfortable, you could see him start to mix up, started to headhunt a little bit, but I thought Cub looked good. I didn't think this was a matter of Cub, aging or anything like that. Granted, he's been in a lot of back and forth fights and fought some of the best. I thought this was a product of Brian Ortega. Just, you're looking at kind of a new breed, a new type of dude who, if he has any opening to get a hold of your neck, a joint, anything, you're in trouble. And remember, Cub Swanson's just not a guy. I responded to a tweet with that MMA fighting did where they went, all he did was get a hold of his neck. All he did is get a headlock. Or no, he just got a headlock and submitted him, not a big deal. Something like that. And I love MMA fighting. I'm not throwing shade at them. I just thought it was hilarious because if you know jiu-jitsu, and especially the fans listen to this and people online, a lot of you have tried jiu-jitsu, what Brian Ortega did to a man of Cub Swanson's experience, his level of grappling. He's a black belt. In MMA grappling, Cub Swanson is a complete badass black belt. And for Brian Ortega to pull that off, a jumping guillotine, readjust mid-air, and still control his chin and finish a choke like that is unbelievable. The magnitude of difficulty to pull that off is a straight 10. A 10. So don't write off Cub's older. Brian just pulled his neck. No. There's so much that goes on to pull that off. It's insane. And before that, even the first round, I thought Ortega made a mistake by showing his cards. And I was watching this fight with my agent, my friend Todd Feldman, who's a MMA freaking diehard fan, and he bet on Cub Swanson. And so obviously I'm rooting for Brian, and I told him to bet on Brian. And when Brian's in the clinch, that's what he needed to do. I was a little upset, granted, and we're seeing Brian grow right in front of our eyes. That first round, he stayed on the outside, picked his spots, didn't need any big shots, used his jab. His right hand was high and tight, so he didn't take any shots, really. His body was open, but that's whatever. And then when he finally got in close and closed the gap, and he snapped his head down to get that front headlock into Anaconda and got him down to the ground when there's 30 seconds left. To me, that was showing his cards. The chance of you submit a guy of Cub's skill level in 30 seconds, it's going to be damn tough. Maybe a guillotine, but it's going to be freaking tough. I was upset because I feel like as a veteran, which, you know, Brian's not yet, but he should have held off on that. He should have went, oh, that's there. The second round early on and be able to pull this off, which he eventually did. But I thought Cub being such a vet, he wouldn't even engage in those close quarters anymore. Because once you feel how quick, how powerful, how technical Brian is in that clinch, where he might be the best featherweight in the world at that clinch. As far as getting your neck, making things happen, finish a fight, he's probably the best in the world. But he has tricks. He has tricks. I've seen him do it to a ton of guys. He's done it to me. I've seen him do it to so many different high-level black belts. But once you show those cards, you can scare a guy enough where he goes, all right, I'm out, man. I'm not getting involved with this. We're not doing this. So when he did that with only 30 seconds left, I went, damn it, he showed his aces. And with a vet like Cub, he's going to go, I'm never getting close with this guy. I'm going to stay on the outside. This is the only way he's going to win. Get a hold of my neck. Forget that. But sure enough, in the second round, probably a minute into it, he gets a hold of his neck, starts doing work. And there you have it. But to say it was just a guillotine, just another submission, it's freaking crazy. Know what you're talking about. And that's no shade on MMA fight or anything like that. I thought it was hilarious. Shout out to those guys. But yeah, Brian Ortega, such a big win for that guy. Such a big marquee win against a guy like Cub Swanson. It's great to see this progression from the Clay Guida fight to his last fight. Now you got Cub Swanson. So here we are, off to the races. And you imagine him against a guy like a Frankie Edgar or a guy like Max Holloway. Does he get the title shot next? I mean, Cub Swanson won 4 in a row. Cub Swanson, if he was in contract disputes, probably would have got the title shot over Aldo. But he didn't. But they, you know, Cub was definitely, it was him or Aldo. They went with Aldo. We saw how that worked out. Is Aldo next for Brian Ortega? This is what is a little scary. It could be. That could be. Or, you know, there's some other interesting fights for him. If I'm Brian Ortega, I'm just vying for that title shot, although we know it's probably going to be Frankie and Max Holloway. Yeah, so he's going to have to wait. So he's going to have to fight probably one more guy. That's what they're going to do. It's the first main event. He's going to probably face an Aldo or something of that magnitude and then get the title shot. And how is his jiu-jitsu? How far does his jiu-jitsu go? Because Ortega, he has, you know, he knocked the guy with a knee. He's done some work, you know, in the clinch striking. He is a bigger guy, so if he lands when you're in trouble. But as far as the upper echelon goes, 1 through 10, Brian Ortega probably has, as far as fundamentally, the worst striking. When I say worst, it's not bad. It's not rudimentary. It's not amateur. No. He's a world-class athlete. I'm saying as far as skill set and technique and pedigree and accomplishments, Ortega's probably out of the top 10 in the world going to be 10 in that division. If you go through them, you got Max Holloway, who's your champ. His striking's amazing. Jose Aldo, amazing. Frankie Edgar, amazing. Ricardo Lamas, trouble. Cub Swanson, amazing. Chan Sung Jung.
Hey, he's awesome.
See, I'm not saying he's not awesome. Is he a world-class striker? Now he has the granite chin. He's a zombie, can move forward, hits like a tank. But you look at the guys, especially the top 9. You know, Jeremy Stevens, knockout artist. Yair Rodriguez, amazing striking. So, but where he can neutralize all this is as I look at those top guys, his potential to finish a fight with jiu-jitsu is higher than anyone. And you go, what? What about Yair Rodriguez? Brian Ortega is way more dangerous than Yair Rodriguez. If Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez did a jiu-jitsu competition, Brian would mop the floor with him. Newsflash for you guys. Mop the floor with him. Stevens, Darren Elkins, tough. So, you know, those top echelon guys, it's going to be interesting to see, and this is what's so fascinating, especially the featherweight division is just a booming now. You know, since Conor left it's finally back on track. You got the face of the division, Max Holloway. But I look at Max Holloway versus all these guys, and it's tough not to say Max isn't just going to steamroll everyone. But there is that window where if they did give Brian Ortega this fight, he named someone else who could finish Max Holloway in that top 9. Not really. Frank Yeager with his wrestling mixing it up, maybe. But Brian Ortega, if he gets a hold of anyone's neck in the world, it's game over. And we saw that. So that's what makes that fight so interesting. I hope it works out for Brian. But I would imagine they give him some sort of monster next to get to that title shot. But he's one away, if not a title shot. But depending where Frank Yeager's at on his recovery, he had that shoulder injury, so he pulled out. So depending where Frank Yeager's at, Brian's either going to get a title shot or he's going to get one monster in the top 5. Either way, exciting stuff, and he deserves it, man.